Hey everybody, how you doing? This is GB. I got Brian and Coop with me as always. This is the Sports Counterpoints podcast, September the 3rd, 2024. What's going on, guys?
What's going on? Good to see
It's
everyone.
football season. It's football season. We are ready. I'm 100% all in. I know Brian's happy. USC won. That was a good win, actually.
Yeah,
Really
Great
good
win.
win.
yeah, that was a
Great
good
And then,
win.
game.
and then
Yeah,
the
we'll
U actually blew out somebody on the road too. That never happens. But yeah.
yeah, we
hmm
we'll I think you want to do a full you want to get to a full college show so we can let's talk about those next week. I think we have a full slate right now, just going division by division. Before we start, thank you everybody who listens. We're actually up to 60 subscribers now, which is a big deal for this starting as kind of just a fun thing that me and my family do. Started when Coop said Brian and Coop always kind of going back and forth on sports, and I was like, man, we can make this a podcast. Started at Brian's house on a card table.
We'll
The
talk.
three of us standing sitting around a phone recording. That first show, we did this exact show we're going to do. We went division by division, NFL breakdown for the season. That one took about 2 hours. This one will not take that long. So
Nope.
we thank you all for listening. Thank you everybody who subscribes, sends comments. Shout out to the family who listens, my people from work, all our friends and family. We truly appreciate it. Like I said, it's just something that we do for fun, and we're gonna see where it takes us. So maybe one day we'll be on other screens doing the same thing. So
Get some Kelsey money.
Right.
yeah, I
Yeah.
would, man. I'll take it, and I'll definitely share the revenues like LaRussell does. Shout out to LaRussell. So y'all have your chance. But yeah, so thanks everybody for checking us out. Let's get to it, man. So NFL, we got a lot to cover, man. We're gonna go division by division, and get Brian and Coop's takes, and then I'll add in a little seasoning and spice as we go through for certain teams that I want to hear about. A couple ground rules, Coop. You have already said you can't talk about the Chargers at nauseum, so I'm gonna hold you to that.
No, that was last year. It's a new
Nah, that's
season.
this year too. No,
It's
that's this
new
year
new
too.
season.
That's gonna
Yeah.
last until they do something. You
No,
can't
no.
just jump off.
Jim Harbaugh,
So
new coach too. Oh
no,
yeah.
nope. So that's already inputted. B, I think you're pretty solid. Just we're gonna try and keep everything within 5 minutes, guys. So let's start with it, man. Let's get the each division 5 minutes. So let's start the timer. We're starting with the NFC East. Let's get it.
Go ahead, B. Start it off.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll start off.
Mhm.
I think the Eagles are still the class of the NFC East. It's
Oh,
just
well,
because
my bad, Brian. I mean to cut you off. My bad. Go from worst to first. So leave
worst
some
to
suspense.
first.
Yeah, leave some suspense.
Oh, there's no suspense in some of these, but all right, cool. I got the Giants at the bottom. I just don't think that there's much going on there. They've lost Saquon Barkley, who was a big part of their offense. There's really nothing about that team that is very alluring. Have the Washington football team next. They've got some young, talented players on that team. I mean, Brian Robinson
Yep.
Jr. at the running back position. They're going to start the whole season with Jaden Daniels. So I have them moderately better, basically a game better than the Giants. Next, I have the Dallas Cowboys, who I think, they're always going to perform pretty well, and then they're going to fall flat in their face. And I just don't think they've gotten to the point where they're better than the Philadelphia Eagles just yet. And then I got the Philadelphia Eagles, as I mentioned before. They got a lot of question marks. I don't think that Saquon just automatically makes them better, especially when you get a running back who's supposed to be able to help you score touchdowns, and you have a quarterback who insists on always stealing them. But they do still have a lot of talent all over that that team. Although not at left tackle as Kelsey retired. But I have them in first. So we'll start with Jason. What do you think from a perspective, and we can talk a little bit more.
Mine's a little bit different, but of course we probably expected that. I have the Giants in last. That we agree on. The good part about the Giants, they have Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns on defense, and rookie Malik Neighbors, who I would have been interested to see play if he had a quarterback. The bad is the quarterback, Daniel Jones, who Giants ownership refuses to get rid of because he reminds them of Eli Manning. So that makes everything else on the team bad. So as long as he's on the team, I can't take the Giants seriously. So I got the Giants in last place. In third place and not making the playoffs, I kind of teased this a little bit a few weeks ago, is the Dallas Cowboys. They have no running backs. And yeah, I know they have Ezekiel Elliott and way past their prime, Dalvin Cook. Both of them are past their prime. So again, they have no running backs. When Dak has to throw 40 times or more in the game, the Cowboys are 8-18. And the NFC is tougher now. Green Bay thoroughly handled them in the playoffs last season. And so but I'm looking at no running game, no depth. They didn't make any significant offseason signings because they don't know how to manage. They don't know how to manage the salary cap. So this team is now making the playoffs. I don't care what the odds makers say. If it does, it wouldn't surprise me, but I would bet they don't make the playoffs. I got Washington in second place, and this is just a bet on Dallas not being very good and the Giants always being bad. And also, they have a new culture, new coaching staff. The owner, Daniel Snyder's gone, Ron Rivera's gone. So this is just a bet they get a boost strictly on, just new personnel, new people coming in. I like Jaden Daniels, but he's definitely not a long-term option in my opinion. I never liked RG3 as an NFL prospect because I knew for him to be successful, he had to run and his body frame would just get hurt early and he wouldn't last long. And that's what happened. I feel the same way about Jaden Daniels, even though I feel he's a little more talented than RG3. His body frame won't allow him to be a 7, 8, 9, 10-year starter, but he can have maybe 1 or 2 dynamic years in the NFL. So I'm hoping he does well this year.
Minute and a half left.
In first place, I got Philly. While I don't see the Eagles as a huge threat, their schedule will allow them to win the division again. They lost their leader and their best player, Jason Kelsey. Their coach, who's a jerk, and their quarterback is overrated. They both don't get along, and they lost 6 of their last 7 games last season. People kind of forget that. They lost to Baker Mayfield in the playoffs, which is a fireable offense. They have 2 really good wide receivers, and that's really the only sure thing about this team. I saw they traded for wide receiver Jahan Dotson from Washington, but that just tells me Washington didn't think much of it to trade him to a division rival. Kind of reminds me when Andy Reid traded Donovan McNabb to the Washington football team. It just made me realize how bad he thought McNabb was. So I got Philly, though not a Super Bowl threat. I do division because the division they play in and their
schedule. Do you have Washington making the playoffs?
Do I have Washington making the playoffs? No, I don't. Nope, okay. I don't. So I'll take it. You got Dallas and Philly making the playoffs in this division.
I did. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next, what's next division, Glenn? I'll start up.
I like it. You got the NFC South.
NFC. Oh, okay. All right. NFC South. All right, here we go. So in last place, I got the New Orleans Saints. This team is just really not worth watching. Dennis Allen should have never gotten a job in the first place and should have been fired. If the Saints come in last place, he'll definitely be fired. And the Saints not only will have a new coach, but they'll have a new quarterback. As well. This is pretty much just an old team with players that management just doesn't want to get rid of because due to dead cap hits. So I got New Orleans in last place. Third place, I got the Carolina Panthers, who should be more fun to watch because last year they were dreadful. They were a dreadful watch. But this is all relying on former offensive Tampa Bay offense coordinator and current Panthers head coach David Canales to make the offense look decent because the defense doesn't have any pass rushers or corners. So hopefully the offense looks good. Second place, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This team will definitely feel the loss of offense coordinator Dave Canales. Baker Mayfield had a resurgence under his tutelage, much like Geno Smith did a couple of years ago. The Buccaneers could win 10 games because of their schedule and if the defense holds up. They have a good O-line and receivers. I got Mike Evans in fantasy, so I'm hoping that their new offense coordinator, who's known for being pretty much a know-it-all asshole, you would think he worked for the Patriots, but I hope he can find a way to give Mike Evans the ball. So that means in first place, I got the Atlanta Falcons. They should run away with this division and breeze to at least 10 wins with their schedule. It also helps they get Carolina and New Orleans twice. But I have to admit, no team has lost me more money in my life than the Atlanta Falcons, and no quarterback has lost me more money in my life than Matt Ryan. But I still like this team to win the division. They traded for linebacker Matt Judon, and they got safeties Justin Simmons as well to go with Jesse Bates, who's also still there. So the defense should be better. I imagine we would see Michael Penix play once they clinch the division. But I got Atlanta winning this with Kirk Cousins hopefully staying healthy. What about you, B?
So you have the Falcons and the Bucs making the playoffs, or just the Falcons?
I do. Falcons and the Bucs. Yep.
Well, we're not that
far.
No,
Falcons. I'm sorry, Brian. I'm sorry, Falcons. Just Falcons. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
We're not so we only have 2 teams in the East and the South making the playoffs. All right.
Yep.
We're not that far off on this one, except for, I have at the bottom, I have the Carolina Panthers. I just don't think that they have enough people in a disciplined situation to be able to do much. Again, at the bottom, I think it's kind of a tie for not being all that wonderful. And the New Orleans Saints are my second to the bottom team. There's just not much to like about this team. There's just really nothing going on. They haven't put anything together. I don't have a lot of confidence in them. I also don't have a lot of confidence in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know what you see in them that you thought that they could get close to 10 wins, but that's lunacy to me. That'll be a good one for us to watch because I don't even think they have a winning record by the end of the season. So we'll look there. And then I also agree with you on I do agree with you on the Atlanta Falcons. They should easily be able to, with that schedule, be able to walk away with both a playoff appearance and a solid record. I also think that the offense might actually be interesting to watch. But for the same reason, I don't think Penix gets much time to play, other than if there's some garbage time opportunities. And I think that's because Cousins plays well enough to make it so that he doesn't have people talking about why Penix should be in. Because if he falters early and they don't meet these expectations, the most popular quarterback on any team is always the backup quarterback, and he'll feel that pressure, especially since they went and drafted him. But I think Kirk Cousins is good enough to play on a team that is not supposed to be good, which means they won't get a lot of primetime games, which means Kirk Cousins doesn't have the opportunity to screw a lot of things up in primetime, which is perfect fit for him to perform, look like he's a great quarterback, and make things happen. So that's how I have that one lining up. Jason, any thoughts on that one? You're muted.
I said 10 wins with Tampa based on the schedule. But I definitely see a drop off though with the offense coordinator going. I don't expect Baker Mayfield to play as well as he played last year, but we'll see. Let's see if they get 9 wins, it wouldn't surprise me. Not at all. Next division, GB.
Y'all are making some good time. I like it. Next up is B, your division, NFC North.
All right. Well, I'll go second on this one. So you go first this time around.
Really? Okay. All right. Well, then.
I want to hear what you have to say about my division first.
Okay. All right. In last place, I'm sorry, B. Nothing personal, but I got Minnesota in last place. It's still hard to believe that Sam Darnold's still a regular starting quarterback in the NFL, but he is. This will definitely be, though, the best last place team in the NFL, but they opened against the Giants. Then it's the 49ers, Texans, Packers, Jets, Lions, and Rams. That's kind of brutal. Nice. But I got Minnesota in last place. In third place, I got Green Bay. Running back A.J. Dillon is out due to a neck injury. Josh Jacobs is a downgraded running back from Aaron Jones. Plus, I'll be concerned about Josh Jacobs' health. Jordan Love needs a running game. If Jacobs goes down, what happens next? I like their depth at receiver, but they cut their kicker, who they drafted last season. And Green Bay has youth in the secondary, so their secondary can definitely be exposed. I hear people raving about this new defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, who used to be a coach at Boston College. Head coach at Boston College, and as a Miami Hurricane fan, I don't understand the hype over Boston College. Nobody hypes up anything from there, so not really understanding that. I don't. Also, speaking of Love, I really don't get the whole Jordan Love as well either.
Surprise!
This guy was 6-8 last year, and then he beat Bryce Young, Jaron Hall, and Justin Fields to make the playoffs, and all of a sudden he's worth $220 million.
Weren't they like a half a game away from smacking y'all up?
If Brock Purdy would have did something like that, all people would have said is he ain't worth the money. But Jordan Love does it. He beats Justin Fields, Jaron Hall, and Bryce Young. Hey, he's worth all the money. He deserves the contract, despite not leading NFL any statistical category for a quarterback. But I got Green Bay in third place. And in second place, I got the Detroit Lions. It's a different game when people expect you to win, and now the Lions have expectations. They're the hunted and not the hunter. I'm not sure how this organization handles that new role that they've never been in before. And, teams don't always pick up where they left off in the previous season. Also, their kicker tore their hamstring, and they have a new kicker from the UFL, whatever that is. But I imagine they're going to need their kicker at some point. In first place, I got the Chicago Bears. I said maybe a couple months ago, the Bears are going to make the playoffs this year. They should be fun to watch because their schedule is soft. They could win 10, 11 games because of their schedule. Sort of like when, Mitch Trubisky was the quarterback. Caleb, but not comparing him to Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams has a lot of guys he can spread the ball to. Everybody made excuses for Justin Fields, deficiencies for throwing the ball and not being able to read defenses by blaming the offensive line and the defense. You won't see them being the scapegoat this year because they have a more talented quarterback. They won't be blaming anybody else. Caleb Williams, he will win Rookie of the Year. He'll also, probably rush for about 600 yards and score at least 6-7 touchdowns. So if you got him on fantasy, he should have a decent season for you. But I got Chicago winning, with Chicago and Detroit making the playoffs.
And I'm gonna give you your full 2.5 B.
I think you've lost your damn mind.
I couldn't wait. Oh, I couldn't
This
wait.
reminds me of when you picked the San Diego Chargers to win the Super Bowl, and they didn't even win they didn't even have a winning record, let alone make the playoffs. But anyways, all right. Well,
injuries.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I wish you wouldn't have brought that up, B, because I had already upset about the Charger talk. But go ahead, please.
Oh yeah,
I've been looking forward to this.
So look, I admit that this is a homer decision. I'm not going to put the Vikings in last place. There's something about what they're trying to do that I feel like they're going to be able to accomplish and just stay out of last. So I have the Bears in last place.
Wow, your boy.
Okay. I just don't think that they have enough talent outside of a young Caleb Williams. And I still think that by the way, I also think that this is the second best division in the NFC this year. Behind the West, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I have the Bears in last. I then have the Vikings. I totally acknowledge that there's a little bit of an element of homerism in this, but I have spent a lot of time this offseason trying to figure out and follow what the Vikings are doing. And the only thing I can come away with is they believe. I'm not saying I get it. I'm not saying I understand it. They believe, the organization believes, players believe. And I think for whatever reason they feel confident, and I think confidence going into the beginning of a season can help out a little bit. I can also see how they will lose 5 of their first 6 games very, very easily. So we'll have to see how it all shakes out. If the Vikings are in last, that's fine. I get it, but the Bears are no better than third in my world. Next, after those two, I actually have Green Bay in second. They're getting there. I think Love is good. I think the team is solid. I think that they're trying to make a difference on defense, and I think that they'll be competitive. I think they're going to make the playoffs. So I have two teams making the playoffs, and that's the Packers and the Detroit Lions. And then obviously in first I have the Detroit Lions. I actually think the Detroit Lions are going to be really good this year. I think it's meant to come together. This is going to be their one big shot. They gave Goff his money, so you're on a clock the minute you do that, because when all that the extension kicks in, you start running out of time. And so that's the way I have that. But Jason, I will be monitoring the Chicago Bears with intense scrutiny after your pick for them to be a playoff team and to be the top team in the
man. If they
North.
make the playoffs, you'll be happy for Caleb Williams. You know that, man. Come on.
A little bit. I mean, I can't be happy for a Bear or anything, but I like Caleb. Yeah. I get.
Okay. All right. Well, since I started with your division, you go ahead and you start with mine.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, so on the NFC West, I have the Arizona Cardinals in last. It's not that I think that they're horrible. I actually think their offense has some signs of life. I don't think that they're a 3 or 4 win team. I think they're probably closer to a 7 win team, or maybe even 8, more likely 7. And I think that they're a not great team in an otherwise very good division. And so that's going to count against them. And after that, I have the Seattle Seahawks. I think the Seattle Seahawks are going to appreciate some fresh coaching and be able to try and do some things. The one thing about Pete Carroll and all of the things that were going on in Seattle, super predictable. Everyone knew exactly what they were going to do constantly, all the time, on offense, on defense, and they were still able to win games. Which means to me there is some talent, there's some bones to the building here. Obviously, I think that they can get and be the third team in there. Next, I have the Rams. I think the Rams are one of those teams that they have a good youthful talent, Kyron Williams, Puka, in the right places to take advantage of Stafford's last stand, right? And that's really kind of what this is. And I think they're good enough to be the second best team. And obviously, the class of that division is the San Francisco 49ers. Even when it seems like they are supposed to try and fall off a little bit, or Ayuk's going to go, or Trent Williams is going to go, or any of these types of things, the capologists there and the GM and the front office pull off some type of a miracle. I will say that this is the same type of stuff we used to say about the Rams when they were doing all their cat magic.
Oh, yeah.
They got to the point where they won their Super Bowl and then have fallen kind of apart. And they're starting to get it back, but that there was some dark days. So I feel like the 49ers are running out of time in order to seize all of this. Once they pay Purdy, after they paid Ayuk, after they paid Trent, there's just too many mouths to feed, and the house of cards just fall. But for right now, this season, I think they're the class of the NFC and the class of the NFC West.
Okay. All right. Well, kind of have it, I think, the same way. I got Arizona in last place. I just don't think Kyler Murray can really elevate an organization to the heights that they want to go to. The personnel on defense also just isn't there for them to even be above average. So I got them in last place. Seattle, 2 years ago when everybody was on that Geno Smith bandwagon except me, I told everybody they're not making the playoffs after that outlier year. He would turn back to being Geno Smith, and they haven't made the playoffs since. Now they got a new coach, a defense coordinator from Baltimore. I believe his name is Mike McDonald. He might solve their linebacker issues, but I'm not sure how a defensive coach solves the offensive line issues that Seattle has, which kind of held them back last year. And the only reason I really don't have them in last place is because the Arizona Cardinals are a mess and they have more talent than the Cardinals. But it'll be interesting to see what the Seahawks offense looks like under their new coach. In second place, I got the Rams. The Rams are talented enough to either win a division, be in the middle of the pack, or be bad. And I'm saying that because they have a lot of young players on this team. So it's kind of hard to predict consistency with so many young players that you're relying on a team from year to year. And they also have a new defensive coordinator as well. If the Rams stay, well, I wouldn't say if the Rams stay healthy. If Matt Stafford stays healthy, this team will be a tough out in the regular season and the playoffs. But they do have enough talent to win the division. The reason why I'm saying that is because even though I have the 49ers winning the division, the year for them to win the Super Bowl was last year. That was their year, and they didn't make it happen. Most of the better players on this team are on the older side, and they have injury history. So it's going to be hard to stay healthy for 17 games. They'll probably be the most talented team in every game, but physically this team is peaked, and they're on the downside now. A lot of those players on the downside of their career now, the other side of 30 or whatever you want to call it. Devin, regular season is going to be a challenge. I see them losing 6 or 7 games this year, and doesn't really help when Kyle Shanahan is very McCaffrey dependent. And McCaffrey, he's nicked up right now. He also doesn't let Brock Purdy change his play calls. So whatever he calls, it has to go, whether it's going to work or not. So, the 49ers, they're going through a lot. They have an aging roster. They have a heartbreaking Super Bowl loss. They got injuries in camp. Purcell got shot trying to keep his Rolex watch. Should have gave that thing up.
But he's all right.
But he did show up in training camp today to show his teammates that he was good. So, but good for him. It looks like he's going to survive or whatever. But that's how I got the division shaken out. Pretty much the same, B.
Who do you have the playoffs, though?
I got the 49ers and the Rams. I think I'm missing one, huh?
I was going to say, you're missing one.
I'm missing one. I got to have 7 teams. Ooh, I got Chicago. I got Detroit.
There's a reason why I was tracking that, by the way, because I was
Atlanta.
Like, this doesn't. You either got the Seahawks.
You know what? Forget. I'll put Washington in there. I'll just put Washington in there.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'll put Washington.
I would have hedged my bet if I were you and picked the Packers. But I put it this way. I'm also taking notes because we will be looking at this.
Yes, we will. I know, and I know you will get on me too.
Yeah, I seen B. B was on his stenographer, boy. I seen. Man, once y'all got to that NFC North, I couldn't wait to hear what he had to say. Coop, man, bro. Yeah, we're gonna see about these.
Yeah, I took notes.
These Niner boys, man. They playing with Monopoly money, so I got to give it to them though. They didn't sign everybody they drafted. It's been impressive, truthfully. So
gotta seal the deal. Hey, B, man. Why don't we start with the AFC South?
Okay.
Yeah, I'll start with them.
Go for it.
AFC South, I got the Indianapolis Colts in last place. The only reason really I would watch this team is because of Anthony Richardson, but it's kind of proven his style doesn't really last, for a 10-year career. Plus, also what I don't like, he doesn't protect himself when he runs. So he was 2-2 last year as a starter, but he was hurt in 2 of those games. I like Shane Steichen, their head coach, offense coordinator. He made Jalen Hurts look like a viable NFL quarterback, which is why he's overrated right now. But if he can polish Anthony Richardson, man, kudos to him. The offensive line, defensive line is good, but everything else in Indianapolis is questionable. So I got them in last place. In third place, I got the Tennessee Titans. And what I'm noticing is the Titans really didn't learn from the Marcus Mariota experience. When Marcus Mariota was the quarterback, they fired position coaches, got rid of the head coach, got rid of players, brought in new players. And I was saying the entire time the problem is the quarterback, but they got rid of everyone around him. They're doing the exact same thing with Will Levis. They're firing people. They got a first-time head coach in Brian Callahan, first-time offense coordinator, first-time defense coordinator, and they're going to be relying on draft picks and veterans to kind of make it all work. And I still don't like they got rid of Mike Vrabel, and I'm not sold on Will Levis. So I got Tennessee in third place. Second place, I got Jacksonville. This is the best roster Trevor Lawrence has had since he's been in Jacksonville, but they open up against the Dolphins, the Browns, Buffalo, and they got to go to Houston to play the Texans. So they can legitimately start the season 0-4. And the big question for this team is how do they get big plays? Their biggest play last year was a 65-yard pass play to a guy who primarily plays returner. So that means I got the Houston Texans in first place. Surprise, surprise. I've always liked D'Amico Ryan. He walked into a terrible situation with the Texans and turned that bad boy around quickly. I like what they did in the offseason. They got Stephon Diggs, who usually doesn't work out long-term anywhere, but for a 2-3 year rental, it's still an upgrade at wide receiver. Acquiring Joe Mixon does nothing for me. I just don't think he's that good, but getting pass rusher Danielle Hunter from Minnesota, that does something for me. He's a good player. With this team, though, it'll be interesting to see if C.J. Stroud has a sophomore slump after whatever everybody has 1 year of film on him. The Texans, though, they were the second most penalized team in the NFL last year, which isn't good. And they pass the ball so much. They don't run too much in this team. They only had 7 100-yard rushing games, which is second, and they were second to last NFL last year in rushing first down. So to take that next step as a team, they're going to have to be able to run the ball and stop the run. So we'll see if they can do that this next season. But that's how I got the division shaken out. What about you, B?
It's a little bit flip-flop, but not by much. So I have the Titans in last place, but not by much. I have the Colts kind of right above them, a win separating them at 6-11 and 7-10. I think a lot of what you were saying about the Titans is exactly correct, which is exactly why I couldn't put them anywhere better besides the bottom. The Colts, I think they've got at least some young talent, and I'm going to give them credit enough to be able to take that young talent and find one more win than a Titans team that really doesn't have the same kind of the talent and really doesn't have much going for them otherwise. So I have it, Titans at the bottom, Colts right after that. Then I have the Jaguars. I agree with you that this is the most talented team that Trevor Lawrence has had, but I also don't think it's necessarily coming together. I have them at 8 and 9, even though I have them in second place. And so, obviously that leads me to who I have as the top team. That's going to be the Texans. I think the Texans have a scary amount of talent in all types of offensive positions to give C.J. Stroud a ton of opportunity to make plays. I agree, sophomore slumps are a real thing. They happen. You get the film, but whether he plays at the same outstanding level he did last time or falls off a bit, I think it's enough to be able to get 10 wins with these teams in your division and become the playoff team out of the South.
Oh, cool. You want to jump to the AFC North?
Wherever. Let's do it.
Go ahead. Do it. Go ahead. You
All right.
it.
So people who listen to this know how much I like Mike Tomlin, but I still have the Steelers in last place, and I actually have them at 8 and 9. It's a little disappointing to do that, but I just feel like there's nothing cohesive on the offensive side. I don't know that they have much, and you in a division that's typically historically been about who's got the best defense. I don't know that they have enough offense to overcome their shortcomings in defense and divisional battles. I think the Ravens are one of the best. So I got them at 8 and 9 in at last place. After that, I got the Browns at 9 and 8. Again, if they were both 8 and 9 and the Steelers won a tiebreaker based on something and were third instead of fourth, or the Steelers made 9 and 8, but both of them are going to be at that 9-8, 8-9 mark, and I have them third and fourth. I think the Bengals are going to be good as long as Joe Burrow can stay healthy. This is a really talented team with lots of players on it, and Chase, and so I have them actually with 11 wins, and I think they're a really good team that just needed a couple of breaks the last couple of years. And I'm going to wager that they finally get a season of reasonable health. Not going to be super healthy all the time, but they're not going to have season-ending injuries to Mixon, who's now gone, and Burrow, who's obviously important. Hopefully not Chase either, who is dinged up right now and hopefully comes back quickly. First place, I have the Ravens. We all know that I really like the Ravens, but I think that they're a really good team last year with one of the best defenses in the top running game is going to be even better this year. Again, I expect that they're going to have the top running game in the NFL. They also probably have the best defense in the NFL. If you're looking for a defense to draft, the Ravens are probably worth it. They're not worth going and drafting too early if you're a fantasy football fan. Someone's trying to take them in the 6th or 7th round, let them do it. There's other teams that you can take much later, but they're probably the class of the fantasy football defensive side. Jason, what do you got?
I think Derrick Henry's going to have a hell of a year too. I think he's going to be number one.
It'll be the first time where I think when you have goal line plays, how worried are you about LJ going out to outside and Derrick Henry going to the middle? Where do you stuff it? You either got to stuff the speed or the power. It's a great situation to be in, I think, for the Ravens. Sorry, Jason, go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. All right. So last place I got the Cleveland Browns. If I think if somebody's a reasonable person, Deshaun Watson should scare you. And there's nothing he's done in Cleveland to make you believe that the Browns are a threat to win the division.
He has scared reasonable people.
Look, the only reason they were successful last year is because of Joe Flacco. It's been 4 years, and I like Deshaun Watson come out of college. I really love Deshaun Watson come out of college, way more than Mitch Trubisky. It's been 4 years since he's been considered a good quarterback. In Cleveland also, they have issues playing on the road. They were 3-6 last year on the road, and they can beat anybody at home. They allowed 282 points on the road, only 209 at home, and they gave up 3,006 total yards on the road and only 1,943 at home. There's a reason why the Browns got 4 quarterbacks on their roster, because there are going to be a couple of people not named Deshaun Watson is going to start for this team this year. So I got Cleveland in last place. Pittsburgh, you guys know it. I'm definitely out on the Steelers. Since Ben Roethlisberger, they can't get the quarterback position or offense in general right. They have a presumed starting quarterback whose feelings and ego they don't want to hurt in Russell Wilson, and they got another one that people make 1,000 excuses for as to why he's not successful and thinks he's a starter in Justin Fields. And it's kind of always bad when you have a backup quarterback doesn't know his role. Like you, Brian, everybody waving that Steelers always finish 500 or better flag is going to be disappointed in the season because they ain't finishing better than 500. They end the season with Baltimore.
Time catches everyone. It's okay.
Yeah, true. That's true. Yeah, so just one season. I mean, it's not a fireable offense or nothing, but they close the season out with Baltimore, Philly, and the Chiefs. All of these games are in 10 days in December. They play those 3 teams. Before that, they play the Eagles, Browns, and Bengals, so it's not going to be a good year. Steelers also, they finish in the bottom 10 in the NFL in total yards for 5 consecutive seasons. They just can't get offense right. In second place, I got the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know if you noticed, but Brian, but their offensive line coach sadly passed away, and he's a really good offensive line coach. The defense coordinator, Mike McDonald, he left to coach the Seattle Seahawks. Now they got a guy who's never called plays before. The D played really well last season, but I expect them to take a step back with a new guy who's never called plays before. Derrick Henry, of course, makes the Ravens interesting to watch, but not necessarily a better team. Because they were always good running the ball with or without Derrick Henry. Lamar, to his credit, has done a good job staying relatively healthy during the regular season. So I definitely have the Ravens in the playoffs. But it's also noted they lost 2 or 3 offensive linemen from that team to the Jets. In first place, I got the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow's injury history just scares me. But when he's healthy, the Bengals are the best team in the division. When led by Joe Burrow, Cincinnati's actually 3-1 against the Chiefs. Jamar Chase has not practiced, and I'm one of those people who doesn't think just because you're a skill player who was good, you can just miss all of OTAs and training camp, walk off the street and kill it. These guys, in my opinion, are more susceptible to injury during the season. The Bengals owner, Mike Brown, he's pulling a Donald Sterling. He's just not paying people. He didn't pay T. Higgins, didn't let Joe Mixon go. He's in a contract dispute with Jamar Chase. He paid Joe Burrow, yeah, but he had to sell the naming rights to the stadium to do it because he didn't want to use his own money. But I think this guy is the Bengals owner is just going straight Bengals owner, not wanting to pay people, and that was always a problem in the past. So, but I still got Cincinnati winning the division.
Only reasonable. I take it you have the Bengals and the Ravens making the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
I also have it just in reverse.
Yes, no, I'm not a lunatic, but yeah, I got them in the playoffs. I also got Houston in the playoffs as well. And I'm sure you have them in the playoffs too. So we can jump over. Let's go to the AFC East. New England, I got them. I think everybody, the Pulse has them in last place. Their offensive line is horrible, and I really think that Jerod Mayo could be a one-and-done coach. They should just let Jacoby Brissett start and get killed behind the offensive line before bringing Drake May in. Drake May, to me, kind of reminds me of the Alex Smith situation when he first got to the 49ers, where both of those players weren't good enough to overcome the below average coaching and personnel that they had. But if you get somebody, that's probably good with good personnel, they can probably, have a good career. I mean, that's what happened to Alex Smith, and I think Drake May would need that, but I don't think he'd be good with this team. The wide receivers on this team, I don't think anybody drafted anyone from fantasy on this team. This is a bad fantasy team. They don't score points. They scored less than 10 points in 6 games last year. They may even missed 9 field goals. So they can't even kick the ball well, but they're just bad. I got them in last place. In third place, I got the Buffalo Bills. I fully expect the Buffalo Bills defense to regress from last year due to salary cap casualties and players leaving. I mean, they lost a lot of guys. They have no Stephon Diggs, so wide receivers kind of questionable there. Their center, Mitch Morse, he's gone. Who I like, not who I like, but who was good. Their safeties, they had one of the best safety tandems in the league. Both of those guys are gone. Micah Hyde, and Jordan Poyer. So they have no go-to wide receiver. Defense is not what they used to be. And the first half of their schedule, Dolphins, Jags, Ravens, Texans, Jets, Chiefs, 49ers, brutal. I got Buffalo in third place. In second place, I got the Jets. Last year, I predicted Bill Belichick would get fired. You can sugarcoat it, call it resignation all you want. I think if this season goes in flames, Robert Saleh and that whole coaching staff, they're going to get fired. The Aaron Rodgers experiment hasn't gone well so far, but I think it should be better this year. They still have some issues. Huh?
5 whole plays.
Right, exactly, right. Last year in 10 games last year, the Jets allowed 100 yards rushing. They were 3-7 in those games. So it looks like if they can stop the run, they can win games. But I don't trust Robert Saleh and the coaching staff, but I still have them in second place. So in first place, I have the Miami Dolphins. Defense does not carry over from year to year. But that's why the 85 Bears are known as the 85 Bears, because in 86, everybody knew how to beat them. Offense does, though. And I think Miami Dolphins offense should be productive again. And their schedule is pretty easy to navigate. I like their schedule. I expect them to be in contention, actually, for a number 1 seed in the playoffs. And if anybody needs home field advantage, it's the Dolphins. Because 2 on the road in the playoffs is not good for anybody. And, people forget, for all the hype that Tua gets, he's only played in 1 playoff game in his career, and it was a loss. But one thing that does scare me about Miami is the last 7 games of the past 2 years, Miami's 4-10. So I don't know if this team is in shape or what, but they seem to give up a lot of points in the fourth quarter and blow leads. They also allowed the 4th most points in the fourth quarter last year. So, Miami. Oh, also, lastly, Miami beat 1 playoff team last season, the Cowboys, on Christmas Eve, 24-22. They lost to the Bills twice, Eagles, Chiefs twice, and Ravens. So 2 in Miami is not all that like people want to make it seem. They don't beat anybody good, but that's how I got it shaken out, Brian. How about you?
Who do you have making the playoffs other than the Dolphins, if anyone?
I got them, and I got the Jets. Yep.
All right. Okay. So, oddly enough, we have a lot of similarities here, but there's some key differences. And so, Patriots dead last. Jacoby Brissett's going to start. He's basically just going to get him through the first half of the season so that they can get May ready to stay upright behind, an offensive line that can't do much and a team that can't do much. I have the Jets and the Bills at 10-7 tied for that spot. I have the Bills as the team who takes the second playoff spot, just because I think that whatever the tiebreakers were, I like the Bills a little bit more. So I have them at the same record. So you could easily say Jets, third, or Jets second, and we would be mostly agreeing. But I do think the Bills ultimately get the second spot and get into the playoffs at 10-7 with the Dolphins in first place. I agree with you that I think the Dolphins will be in contention for the top spot, but I honestly think that the number 1 seed is coming out of the North and either the Bengals or Ravens. I have it as the Ravens, but if it were the Bengals to win that division, I think that they would also win it with the number 1 seed. I just think that those 2 teams are a cut above. I think the Dolphins are going to be able to compete, and it should be a lot of really interesting things going on. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Devon Achane can do this season. He was super exciting to watch. I was excited about having been one of the people, if people listened to our show last year, that was my rookie that I said was going to blow up. I used my rookie pick to get him. And ultimately he did exactly that. And a lot of people were wondering what I saw. So now that he's back from injury, I want to see and healthy, I want to see him kind of continue with that moving forward.
Cool. That works.
B, I got a
Yeah.
request. With the last division is the AFC West. Why don't you start with how you feel this division
Okay.
goes? This is your division. And then,
It's
and then
not mine.
Brian.
It's not mine.
No,
Oh,
his
you
No, I'm
division.
talking about
GB.
Glenn. Yeah, GB.
Yeah.
Let GB go, then Brian will go, and I'll finish out.
Oh, you want me to go?
Yeah. I mean, it's your division.
Oh man,
I'm
Ray.
interested. I'm interested to see where you got the Raiders
Oh,
at.
you
That's
said
the
I
reason.
gotta go last to first. Well, you know where the Raiders is at, bro. What you mean?
Okay.
You know me, and
Okay. Well, who
and
you got
I'll give
last
you the
then?
quick rationale before
Okay.
I get the time started. So
All right.
last I got the mm, they both are trash. So
Oh, Kansas City.
I'm
Okay.
gonna go
All
with
right.
I don't know. I'm gonna go with the Broncos last. Don't know what Bo Nix is gonna do. Sean Payton is touted as this amazing coach. He's won games in the past. We haven't seen anything yet. I'm hearing the Bo Nix looks good. Haven't seen it. Haven't seen him play real defenses yet beyond his own. We're gonna see. I got them last. Chargers up next. Harbaugh's coming in. You know, everybody loves Harbaugh. He's won everywhere he's been. Absolutely. Took over that Niners team that was close. Took them to the NFC Championship that first season. Got them to a Super Bowl that they lost. Played well. Got Michigan. You know, got that program up and running, got them to a championship, but still new division, new players. Herbert's banged up a little bit. We got to see what they do. Raiders in second place, coming off of having consistency of coach. Got to see what Gardner Minshew does, but I think with a serviceable quarterback, which is what he can be, and a very solid defense, which is what we had. You say it doesn't carry over. I think we're going to be pretty solid. I'm not putting this as number one defense or anything, but we're going to be in the upper half. All we needed was a couple more points per game. OMT was my phrase. One more touchdown all year. We'd have won every game damn near. So I got them, and of course the Chiefs at top. You know, you coming off a Super Bowl, haven't really lost too much. Got to have them at the top. So that's how I got it.
Raiders make the playoffs.
I have a $20 bet with a coworker, so absolutely.
Okay. Hey, check this out.
Seventh spot.
Did you pay him already, or you gonna wait?
That was
You know what? It's cool, man.
Messing with you.
I'll take it out of Ayuk's contract.
I'm messing with you.
Take it out of Ayuk's contract.
That's a good one. It's all good. B, go ahead. How you got this division shaking out? I'll go last.
All right, so I'm gonna rock with you a little bit, Glenn. I got the Broncos in last. It's not because I don't think Bo Nix could perform, because I actually have been watching. He does look like he may be able to perform, but he's going to be slinging things all over the place. And in a division that's like this, it's not enough to win. You know, I do not believe in Sean Payton in this situation. I do think that, you know, they've got all the eggs in the Sean Payton basket, and he has done nothing at all to show that he deserves it. So I don't know why I need to be the one that believes that the Broncos are going to do anything better than worse. So I'm going to go with them at worst. I'm going to have the Raiders next. I don't think they make the playoffs. I do think that they have a problem at a very key position, quarterback. Like, you cannot have confusion. If you've got two quarterbacks, you have none, right? We've said that before. And so while they've chosen with some level of confidence Gardner Minshew, I don't think that they're doing it from a position of strength. It wasn't like they weren't going into camp trying to figure out whether or not it was O'Connell or Minshew. And while I do think Minshew is exciting, Minshew throws picks, and for a team that lost so many of their games by one score, having somebody who throws picks at the bad time does not usually reverse that trend. And that could be problematic. But I got the Raiders in third. Next, I got the Chargers. I actually think the Chargers are going to be pretty good this year. They've got a lot of talent. That's obvious. They've had that for a while. I think it's finally going to come together. I'm not going to talk about them going and winning Super Bowls, but I do think they could get to 10 wins. And that will be enough to make the playoffs in my book. And then, yeah, I think the Chiefs and the referees are going to make sure that they get at least their 12 wins and make the playoffs, and I have them there first. So, that's how I have it shaking out. And yeah, like I said, I do not think that the Raiders are bad from end to end. Please, Raider fans, don't think that that's the case. It's just simply when you have a quarterback like Minshew, when you're trying to win by one score, that's a dangerous combination.
Okay. All right. Last is on me. All right. So this division actually was the hardest one for me to pick, which is kind of why I wanted to go last. But in last place, I have the Raiders. And the reason why I have the Raiders is I want to know what they're going to do for offense. They don't have a quarterback, and they threw for under 200 yards in 8 games last year. The running game only averaged 90 yards a game, and the year before they averaged 120. So they ran better the year before. The Raiders are definitely defensive oriented, but they do have some questions at corner. And it's kind of hard for defense to carry over. It'd be really good from year to year. Gardner Minshew, yeah, he won games with Indianapolis, but he had Shane Steichen, who was one of the best offensive play callers in the NFL, and he doesn't have that with the Raiders. So the Raiders win total is only 6.5. They could get 6 or 7 wins, which seems about right to me. But what isn't being talked about with the Raiders is they finished in second place last year. People forget that. So they have a second place schedule. This team isn't good enough for a second place schedule. So 6.5 win total is just about right for the Raiders. So I have them in last only because I don't know what they're going to do for offense. Denver, I don't think is going to be much better than the Raiders. What I know about the Broncos is they're starting a rookie quarterback. Sean Payton brought in Zach Wilson to compete to be a quarterback on his team. So this makes me think that Sean Payton has something going on mentally. He's just making a lot of money and just making decisions. I don't think he knows what he's doing at this point and doesn't really care. He also has former Raider quarterback Jarrett Stidham, who's 28 years old with 4 career starts. And I heard him in an interview last week said that he no doubt thinks that he's a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Almost beat y'all.
Exactly. So one decent game against the 49ers does not make you a starting quarterback in NFL. And the only reason he started was due to financial reasons of the other quarterback. That's the only reason. Last year, Denver had the second best third down defense in the NFL, but they had the worst run per attempt defense. So that's not good. But they fixed their run defense by bringing in some players. But I do not see Bo Nix as a high caliber, high ceiling quarterback. Second place, I got the Chargers. I am worried about Justin Herbert's foot, though. He has a plantar whatever you call that stuff. Yeah. And this is really not a good roster if Herbert goes down. This is definitely a last place team if he's hurt. A little worried about the skill players. It's definitely on the below average side. But one thing we know for sure is that the Chargers will be in the top 10 in rushing attempts for the NFL. And also what's not being talked about, they have a last place schedule. So they have not the best teams on their schedule. In first place, nobody's surprised. Kansas City, they'll win the division by default just because the other teams are in reconstruction in their division. I'm on record. I know, Brian, you're on record that the Chiefs will not win the Super Bowl this year. Their schedule is all over the place, and to be physically healthy for 3 straight Super Bowl runs is extremely hard. And I just believe the way their schedule is set up, it's not conducive to win the Super Bowl. So even though I do got Kansas City in the playoffs and winning this division.
You also have the Chargers in the there?
No, I do not. So I'm looking right now.
You're missing. So I
was thinking it's 6. That's why. I got Kansas City. I got Miami. I got the Jets. I got Baltimore. I got Cincinnati. I got Houston and Jacksonville. 7.
Chargers play just like us, NFC North and the AFC South. So plus the Chiefs, plus the Broncos, our division usually beats up on each other. So, I mean, yeah, you love the Chargers. You always have. I don't know.
I don't love them this year.
You wore a blue shirt on purpose, man. Every year, bro.
I don't love them this year.
I wish Brian wouldn't have mentioned you picked the Chargers to win a Super Bowl.
I did. That was like 3-4 years ago. I sure did.
Man, if I could mute your mic, I would.
I sure did.
I could, but I can't go do it.
Around the horn is off the air, man.
And I did say halfway through that season. And I did say halfway through the season. I mean, it wasn't even halfway. I knew like maybe 5-6 games in. Yeah, that's not going to age.
All of us knew before the season started.
I know that.
1998. The boys ain't never won no Super Bowl, bro. Not even in Madden. Why would you? What is you on? I know you love Harbaugh, bro. I get it,
Not
but
even
man, this is what we do.
Same
thing we do with Sean Payton. Everybody just swinging from the gonads.
Yeah.
Oh my
Excited
goodness.
for them boys, bro. Excited for them boys. And I think Harbaugh's good. And we've been saying the whole time the roster's been, the roster's great. They have bad coaching. You just said the roster's not good without Herbert, but they have good coaching. So. The roster that was built by the GM that we have.
But they got rid of all those players. Those guys are gone. This roster.
Eckler?
Both their wide receivers. Eckler. Everybody who was productive on offense is gone. Everybody.
That's what I'm saying. Is you're saying that the offense is not good, but they got Harbaugh, so they're gonna go with second place?
Your division is not good. You
play more teams. You play more teams in the division. You know that, right?
You can go second place in your division by going 6-11. Your division is not good.
So we went second place last year.
Right.
We basically have the same schedule. Just so you know, because that's how NFL schedules work.
Well, this is why you take notes like Brian. And so you come back
I ain't gotta take no notes, bro.
Well,
I got 5
Jason,
years of
there's
receipts.
one thing that I have learned about doing these picks with you. There's always at least one division where
Yeah.
you lose your damn mind.
Yeah.
And while I don't think it's the AFC West this year, because you picked the Bears to win the NFC North.
And that's the division I always screw up on. Because remember that one year
had the Lions.
Detroit, I had the Lions winning, but the next year they won. I had them the next year they won, but I did have them winning
I guess next year you can pick the Bears again because they damn sure ain't doing it this
right. And the Chargers. That's wild.
It's the North.
If you feel like making any of those bets, do not call Vegas. Call me.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, nah. He ain't no. Nah, he like doing this for the show, bro. If you think his money's going with any of these bets, absolutely not. He doing this for the show.
Oh my gosh.
This is inflammatory.
Well, you
by
put
nature.
it out there. You put it out there. I don't think I have anything that's crazy. I can speak to him. I can see how some things can shape one way or the other, especially at the bottom of some of these divisions. But yeah, the Bears. That's a big call.
Oh yeah, we're gonna see. See.
People are putting a lot into them. They're hoping, right?
Like
who do they open their season against?
Huh?
Who do they open their season?
Tennessee, and I'm thinking, and that's my favorite bet of the week: the Titans plus 4.5 against Chicago.
Hey, bet of the week. You guys did pretty good, man. Give me a couple fantasy players that you're excited about.
What do you want? Sleepers, top like 10 picks? Minutes. What are you looking for?
Go sleepers, because the top picks we kind of can figure out, right? So sleepers is when people are gonna need a mid rounds, might need a guy.
All right. Well, how about this? I'll do some rookies.
And your top two.
Because everyone already knows Harrison Jr., Neighbors, and Dunze, Powers, and Caleb, and all that kind of stuff. So when you get down there, there's Jonathan Brooks, who's not going to play the first 4 games of the season because he's on the PUP list because of his injury last season. So in a lot of drafts, you can pick him relatively late and for very little. And he's somebody at the end of the second half of the season, when you're looking at the playoffs, could actually be a big guy.
Running back for the Panthers.
Yeah, the number 2 running back on most people's rookie list isn't going until like the 12th or 14th round. That's Trey Benson, who is behind Connors. Now, the one thing about Connors is he's very good when he plays, but he always has games where he misses. Trey Benson is a good enough running back that if he gets into the situation, he could actually seize that position and go with it. Not because Connors is doing anything wrong or he's underperforming, simply out of a lack of availability. And there's plenty of people who think Blake Corum could take Kyron Williams' job, mainly because, or at least be the 1B or the 1A, because of the fact that he's bigger, he can run straight forward, whereas Kyron needs to kind of stat out a little bit more. And then one more on the running back who's not a rookie that I'm actually really bummed that I just lost out in the draft tonight is Ty Chandler. He's going undrafted or drafted in the very ends of rounds when they've already said that he's 1B to Aaron Jones. So it makes no sense for people to be skipping out on him late in drafts and not picking him up. So those are a bunch right there. I know Ladd McConkey is obviously a popular one. I'm not sure I'd get it. And then my emotional pick for fantasy on the rookie side is Keon Coleman. I just like listening to the kid talk, and therefore I rock.
I think he's gonna ball too.
Yeah. For me, I picked him very late in my fantasy football draft. That's Jordan Mason, because I got Christian McCaffrey getting hurt. So he takes over the bell cow role for the 49ers, and he averages 5 yards a pop, just doesn't play much. So he's if you're looking for a running back that people probably not never heard of or whatever, I think he'd be a good one as a handcuff to McCaffrey. As far as a wide receiver concerned, I would say Marvin Mims for the Denver Broncos. This is a guy that Sean Payton handpicked, so I assume he's going to get the ball or get some targets, which would be good for fantasy. Also, there is a running back for Carolina who's out right now, but the coach definitely wants to see him play. His name is Jonathan Brooks.
That's who I said first.
Yep. Oh, you said it? Oh, okay. My bad. Yeah. So Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard aren't anything to write home about. So when Brooks is healthy and able to play, he will definitely see the field. And I think he could be somebody that could pay dividends for somebody that picks him
up. Lots of value on drafting him in the late half of because he's on the PUP list.
Right.
He doesn't show up in a lot of like Yahoo does points per season and how it ranks it.
Yep.
CBS does the same. He will not get as many points as some of these other running backs. He will only play the second half. But if you're in a matchup-based league or even a point-based league towards the end of the season, it makes a whole lot of sense to pick him up.
Yep. Give me a couple of defenses you like.
Yeah. Well, I'll give you. Let me give you my offensive rookie of the year. I already said Caleb Williams, but my defensive rookie of the year is going to be Byron Murphy, defensive tackle for us for Seattle. He's going to wreak some havoc. But B, who you like for defense for fantasy?
Well, I already said that I really like the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're the best. The other one that it's kind of weird is I would take the Jets. Cowboys are always kind of stable. They always find a way. Cleveland Browns are kind of sneaky because I think a lot of people don't think of them as a defensive team, but their defense has performed well over the last few seasons. So if you're looking for value, because everybody knows the Ravens are going to be good. Everyone knows the Jets. Most people think the 49ers are going to stay good because they have so much talent over there. Cowboys are not going to sneak up on anybody. Where you can get sneaky is the Browns, the Steelers, and, you know, the Bills is another team. But the Browns and the Steelers, I think, very solid defensive picks because they also play a style of football where it's not big games. So even when they suck, they're going to lose 9-3, right? And you know, the low number of points being scored upon because they're playing bad offenses is just as good on a fantasy point perspective as making a whole bunch of big plays.
Yeah, I got a sleeper defense, Glenn, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. I like their defense coordinator. Cincinnati is a pretty good defense. They're definitely an above average defense. And if you could pick them in fantasy, they would definitely pay dividends. They don't get talked about much because it's Joe Burrow, but when Joe Burrow is healthy, they know how to call plays and adjust that defense or whatever to where both are able to make plays on offense and defensive side. So that's a sneaky, good defense. Defenses like the Saints, who are always rated high, they're overrated. I think the Steelers are slightly overrated, but the Bengals, I would take them over both of them.
So before we go on, I got to do one thing that I always want to do and I always forget. Jason, rank your top 5 quarterbacks and tell me who sucks so that next year when you tell me that, oh, I always thought they were good, I can come back and put your
I never say that. No, I never say that.
Let's throw that to next show.
Yeah, next year I got to think about my top 5 quarterbacks.
Before to it. Do not let him off the hook on that one.
Yeah. Let's definitely do that.
Oh, I never say, I always thought he was good. If I say somebody's bad, he's bad.
I think it's going to take longer. It's going to take longer than we have a lot of
that's a myth
go through this.
That's been perpetuated.
You the one perpetuating.
I just say it's a myth.
I say 4 quarterbacks ain't good. You say, oh, everybody ain't good. Man, come on now.
400.
You say 4 per division. All right, cool. So appreciate you guys, man. Did really well on time. Let's wrap him up. We're like right coming up on that hour mark. Look, the last couple segments. What's hogwash to you? Tell me what's a bunch of hogwash.
You got a hogwash? Because I'm gonna be a minute on mine. Make some people mad on mine.
Yeah, I do too. Mine is for the guy in my upper left with the blue shirt on, Jason Cooper. He keep picking these Chargers. He keep picking these wild takes. Just because anytime you can pick the Chargers, you do. It's a new season, so mine is for my cousin, man, my loved one, Jason Cooper, with these Chargers picks.
7-10, 8-9 ain't gonna be good. All right, my hogwash is this. Look, as I was going through my whole little football thing, looking at teams, whatever, I saw a survey that the players, of course, did of the most overrated player in the NFL. Couldn't believe it that they picked Josh Allen. When I first saw that and didn't even read the article yet, I was thinking, Jalen Hurts or Trevor Lawrence or somebody like that. You know what I mean?
It's a myth I'm perpetuating, though, right?
Oh man. Yeah. Oh yeah, those guys still overrated. But I just couldn't believe it that it was Josh Allen. I couldn't believe it when, in my mind, the most overrated player in the NFL is easily Lamar Jackson. 2 MVPs and nothing to show for it.
Damn.
2 playoff wins. Yet the reason why the media and all these people could give him MVPs and why his myth is perpetuated is because of these fantasy people. They look at rushing touchdowns and think he's great. They don't look at playoff success in games against teams that matter to judge a quarterback. No quarterback is overcovered and overrated as much as Lamar Jackson. That's why the smart person I am didn't hyperventilate when they got Odell Beckham, because I knew he wasn't going to do nothing with Lamar Jackson. And if you're just wondering why I say Josh Allen is better than Lamar Jackson, I said better, is because I don't care about regular season and fantasy stats. I care about what you do in games that matter, that mean the playoffs. Lamar Jackson has 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, 57% passing, and a 75.7% passer rating in the playoffs, and he's 2-4 in 6 playoff games. That can be your MVP. That's not mine. Josh Allen has 21 touchdowns and 4 interceptions in the playoffs, 64.6% passing, and a passer rating of 100. Please tell me why Lamar Jackson is supposedly better than them. And then, Lamar has MVPs. Good. Let me tell you about his MVP season. The 2 years he won MVP, both ended in losses at home, and he didn't score more than 12 points in either game. That's your MVP. quarterbacks with 4+ playoff game experience over the past 10 years, Lamar is the third worst passer rating and second worst completion percentage. Please spare me on how great he is. Johnson's been more durable. Josh Allen's been more durable and has more total yards than Lamar Jackson. I don't want to hear this debate. I'm sorry. You can have Lamar Jackson all you want. I don't care about week 3.
You need to put the clock on him here.
I'll say, yeah, everybody
I don't care.
We're all perpetuating the myth that he talks a lot of trash about quarterbacks, but he just went 10 minutes.
Everybody can't be Jimmy G with Kyle Shanahan.
Jesus Christ, man.
Go ahead, B.
This guy never beat the Chiefs.
I'm actually switching up sports. My hogwash is to the PGA Tour, who just had their tour championship, and it is by far the worst championship event in any sport there is. It is the least climactic. I am a PGA fan. I watch golf. I play golf. I watched grand total of maybe 15 minutes and turned it off because I was not interested. The way that they do that their tour championship is that over the course of the season, people collect FedEx points, and then they get into the playoffs where they whittle it all off. And for the last event, they have about 25 players who get to play. But here's what they do. They take the people who have won tournaments for the rest of the season, they accumulate those points, and then they start that person, in this case, Scotty Scheffler, who's clearly the best golfer around right now, and start him at -10 or 10 under par. And then tell everybody else, you want to play? You want to win? Go catch the best golfer right now and give him
with
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 strokes. Inevitably, which seems to happen every year they do this, the person who goes out there and gets 10 starts 10 under is able to hold serve over 4 days at Eastlake. The other thing is they always play it on the same course. Yeah, they made a couple changes this time, but why is Eastlake in Atlanta all of a sudden the crown jewel for golf, where they're going to have the Tour Championship? Flip it up. You want to have some fun? Play the Tour Championship at Augusta once every 10 years. You get the viewership would go through the roof. Do a match play event. Do something where you get to find out, or at least make it interesting. Do a match play event. Have Scotty Scheffler be the 1 seed. Have the number 25 person go against him in a match play. There are so many different ways, but as it currently stands, it's complete hogwash. It's completely boring, and it is the only tournament where people can win $20 million that nobody is watching.
Bars.
Real quick. The majors are British, the Masters, U.S. Open, and what's the other one?
So you got the Masters, the Open,
the
U.S. Open.
Yep.
The Players Championship is kind of considered a major of its own.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
But the PGA Championship is not a major, though, right? It's
the
like the unofficial 5th major.
It's like a mini major.
Yeah. Okay.
It's no one gets a Grand Slam.
Okay. Okay.
They call it Tiger Slam, but a Grand Slam for winning that one. No.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
They call the PGA in May.
Okay.
Word. Last part of it, minute to win it. Mine is just a huge thanks to every person who subscribed, every person who comments, family members, friends, co-workers, everyone. Y'all really appreciate it for listening to us talk sports, and for people who comment about the show and talk to us when I see them. Like, I really, really, truly appreciate it. It's been fun, and thank you guys for doing this with me we're like 5-6 years in now.
No doubt. Yeah, Brian usually closes this segment, so I'll go. I'll echo Glenn's sentiments. Thank you for listening. Please comment, YouTube, whatever, whether you like it, you don't like it, what you like, you don't like, whatever. We'll respond. But I just want to thank everybody for rocking with us for as long as you have rocked with us. Seriously, we got a lot of subscribers, and hopefully we'll get more. Tell your friends. So thank you.
Echo the same thing. It's always fun doing all of this, and this is one of the best parts of the year, is kind of going into football season. There's a lot of excitement, both from all the fantasy drafts, but also not having a team that's kind of down in the dumps, where I will probably be in about 6 weeks. So for right now, I'm going to seize the energy and enjoy all of that. I'm going to go a little bit different on the minute to win it. I'm going to praise a team that you will never believe that I will be praising. I'm going to praise the Clippers. So they just recently opened their new arena, which I hope to never go to for basketball reasons, because the Clippers are still a trash organization that don't deserve anything. But they did something that I thought was pretty darn cool as part of their stadium. They put every jersey for every team that has a basketball team in California. That's over 1,500 jerseys. In certain instances, they had to call local municipalities to find out what teams existed so that they could get them, because this is small schools, large schools.
For high
And
schools.
you can go into their app and put the school's name, and they will tell you where in the arena the jersey is. You can go see your high school's jersey standing up. And if you had a player who played on the Clippers, they have that jersey facing the opposite direction so that you could see Westbrook's name, you could see George's name, you could see all the Clippers' names. It is an excellent engagement tool for the community. I do think the owner is outstanding. I wish he had bought a real team, but hats off to the Clippers for doing something that I think is just really nice. And I think, may ultimately get some kids interested in going to a Clippers game so they can go see their kids, the school's jersey, and just nice.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
even NorCal teams, Scott.
Yeah,
Everyone in California.
Every high school team.
They came a long way from Donald Sterling charging people for towels and candy bars and vending machines. So that's
another stuff
came
we
a
can't talk
long way.
about. We're gonna end it there. That's Sports Counterpoints. It's September 3rd, 2024. We'll check on next time. Thanks.